Welcome, everyone. This is the first parent virtual parent coffee of the 2024 calendar year. We've got on the call parents from the Forest School Online. We've got some parents from the Forest School. We're recording this for folks who've expressed interest in watching this topic after the fact. And then we've got some staff from our Institute for Self-Directed Learning, um, as well as the head of the Forest School Online with us. The plan is to uh, meet together here for the first sort of 30, 40 minutes, and then break off into the Forest School in person and then the Forest School online. When we break off from the Forest School in person, we'll talk about the new building, as well as the Hero Honor Code. And then Chrissy and FSO Forest School Online have a number of announcements for that group as well. I'm excited to jump in. Those of you who are newer to our organization may not know, as a part of our nonprofit, we have an institute, and we have a number of core capacities at our institute, one of which is training leaders. In fact, today starts a new cohort of leaders from around the United States that a mix of public and private school leaders who are interested in launching new transformative, innovative school models. And Caleb and I and our other folks from team members from our institute are going to be leading them through a process. This is really mainly Caleb and I actually are going to lead this through this process to create pathways for innovation. It is hard work. It takes years to do it, and the leaders that we've identified are in it for the long game, as far as we can tell. And so that's one of the things our institute does. Our institute also does research. We care a lot about building the education field for a research base for the kind of learner-led, learner-driven, self-directed, self-determined, agentic learning that happens at the Forest School Online and the Forest School. And so one of the studies that we completed recently using your learners was this new study, Unlocking the Secrets of Self-Directed Learning, Insights from the Forest School. And I'm going to let Caleb and Trey talk a little bit about the methodology in just a minute. But I want to share with you anecdotally that already some leaders of national education organizations, very important, prominent organizations, took time over the break to read this study and have given us great feedback and said how important, how crucial, how helpful this study is, as well as some school founders. And the cool thing about it is it's the voice of your learners. So we're going to be sharing today research that we have done, again, from your learners. And we're going to talk about how, as parents, how are our heroes successfully taking charge of their own learning, and how can we as parents help them? And of course, on the call, we have varying degrees of learners who are really exemplifying self-leadership and those who are still growing in that. It's a journey for all of us. And that's the conversation, the topic that we're going to be on today. Caleb, will you speak just a little bit about the methodology of this study, kind of how it came about and how it was done?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey everyone, good to see y'all. So we came to this study pretty organically. We started about a year and a half ago researching what we call the pathway of a self-directed learner. We got a lot of questions at our school and our institute around the idea of, can anyone just direct their own learning, or is it a select few people? And so we did a research study, kind of a meta-analysis of all the literature out there on self-directed learning, and we identified that there is a pathway that everyone can become a self-directed learner in the right conditions. Our next step of that was we started thinking about where along that pathway our own learners at the Forest School where would they place themselves on that pathway of being a self-directed learner. So we built out a survey, and last year we gave them a survey where they had to kind of self-assess, self-reflect on how much ownership of their own education they were taking. And one of the findings from that survey was about half of them indicated that they had strong routines and strategies in place to see a learning project through from beginning to end. They had a system that worked for them. And the aha moment for us was we want to know what that is. What is that system? What is that routine? What are those habits that that learner has that helps guide them through, even when it's hard, to push through and take control of their own learning? So we asked them. So that is this research study you have before you. We took those learners that answered yes on the survey, that were still at the school. Some had graduated, since then. From both the four school online took the survey, and we identified those learners and we reached out to them. And Trey, who's on the call, did a lot of the legwork. He designed a questionnaire that we collaborated on, and he sat down with each of these learners in interviews, probably ranging from 15 to 30 minutes, I think, Trey, and asked them a series of questions about their own learning, about their own strategies, about what they did when they were stuck on a math problem, what they did when they felt writer's block or didn't know the answer to a question, how they finished a group project, those sorts of things. And then he transcribed those interviews, and we had a giant document of all of those answers. About 33 learners we interviewed. We transcribed their interviews, and then we set about kind of looking through those interviews for clues. It's a process that researchers called coding. We went through, categorized the language, and saw what kind of themes emerged. And here, Tyler's going to walk us through a few of those things that we learned, some of the nuggets that kind of stood out to the forefront. Trey, anything you want to add to that process?
Not much. I think you summed it up pretty quickly, but yeah, I mean, I think the way that, when I did the interviews, and I think, we found that, half of them did have, uh, did feel that they had a method to, figure out these projects. But another way to think of that is that half of them, didn't, right? And maybe, some it may be that some of them who don't feel that they have a method, or some people that they do feel they have a method, um, what does that correspond to? Are they thinking of things in certain ways? And so, um, a lot of the questions were just sort of probing into their thinking. How do they, when they get stuck on something, really, I mean, how do they respond to that? And what are their different things? And people had a lot of different strategies for doing that are going to be discussed in here. So, I mean, I thought it was really interesting to see, uh, how many strategies there were. I mean, there are quite a few.
Thanks, Trey and Caleb. The exciting thing for me, y'all, is, I will say that what we heard wasn't a massive surprise, but it was detailed. It was the first time we've generated a list of all the strategies we're aware of. And thirdly, what's unique is it's from the voice of the learners. So it's not just the adults saying, hey, here's what we think is going to work. It's the learners themselves saying, hey, here is actually what's working for me. And so Caleb has smartly called them pro tips. And so we are going to be moving forward. We're going to be doing, this is really content for our learners for the rest of the year. We're going to be threading this through future parent coffees with y'all. We're going to be threading it through the Socratic discussions and launches that we do at the Four School and the Four School Online, to draw learners' attention to this list of pro tips that they can shamelessly steal to self-direct and use their own learning. And so the findings, Caleb, will you just give an overview of these categories and where these came from?
Yeah, we saw kind of four distinct buckets emerge for categories for the strategies and routines that learners had. We categorized them as learning through relationships, so tapping their networks to get unstuck or to move further along their learning journey. Learning through experience, so trial and error, research, kind of building those habits and skills through, kind of experientially just doing the thing. Learning through the environment, so strategies about where they sit, are they listening to music? Do they have headphones on? Are they by themselves? Are they collaborating? Those are all real world strategies, especially that, y'all do these things in the workplace too. What's your strategy for getting work done? And then learning through routines, like what are the daily practices that they have set, those small habits that have become kind of ingrained in them. So those are the four kind of buckets of strategies we identified in the research.
And the reason this call is so important for parents and we as educators is we do have this belief based in our experience and based in research that if a learner, their parents, and their educators are aligned and rowing in the same direction, then there's an increase in the ability for a learner to successfully create and implement their own strategies and routines. And so we hope to align with you as parents and caregivers of learning. Like, let's call learners' attention to these pro tips. Let's celebrate them. Let's demonstrate them. Let's model them. Let's look for them. Let's talk about them. And if we do, the more that we do that together with our learners, the more agency they're going to have as young people. And so today's parent coffee, for about the next 20, 30 minutes, we're going to look just at one of the categories. We're going to look, because we don't have time to go through all of it, because there's 19 pro tips. We're going to look at 8 of them, and it's specifically through relationships. We're going to discuss 8 pro tips leaning into relationships. But to start, we're going to start with ourselves. And I'm going to ask the question, are we modeling self-directed learning ourselves? And specifically, are we modeling relationship-based self-directed learning for ourselves? And so what we've done for today is we've created a little self-survey that I want to invite you to take. I'm going to put it in the Zoom chat right now. And you'll notice it's view only. So you're going to need your own just a place to take notes, because you're going to keep your own score. And so what I want to invite you to do is on your own, we'll go on video and audio mute for about 5 minutes, and just read through it, note your own score, be as honest as you can. And you're not going to have to share your answer, so don't worry. But note your score, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. And if you will, please, when you're done, if you'll drop the word "done" in the Zoom chat, then I'll know kind of when to bring everybody back together. Any questions about the prompt? Okay. Enjoy. And again, please put done, write your score down, make note of what distinction you are, and then write done in the Zoom chat. Enjoy. All right, looks like about half are done. Here's what I'd love to do. Even if you're not done, it's okay. You'll have time after the call to make sense of the rest of the survey. I want to invite you into breakout rooms just to share, introduce yourself to another parent. What was that like for you? That survey. What did you like? What did you wish? What do you wonder? We'll just take a few minutes in those breakout rooms. Enjoy. All right, welcome back, folks. I know that's not a whole lot of time. Um, do we have some self-directed learners, relationship-based self-directed learners in on the call here today? I'd love to kind of go through these one by one, give you some context for what learners told us, and then sort of open it up for conversation. And then I want to conclude with, things that we can ask our learners at home as parents and caregivers to really reinforce these. So pro tip number one, make your goals known to at least one person. We heard our learners say, I've heavily recommended setting weekly goals to people. Bring one other person in. It helps to have at least one other person you can talk about your goals with. So this was one of the strategies that some of our learners are in fact making. So one of the questions we can ask of our learners is, and of ourselves, are we making our goals known? Are we asking for that accountability? Are they making their goals known? Are they asking on themselves? Are they asking for that level of accountability? Pro tip number two, learning how to ask for help. Self-advocacy is a word traditionally used in education circles, but one of the representative quotes we saw was, I came to this about a year ago. I had a feeling of pride that I should be able to do these things. I'm supposed to be the math person, but I'm here to learn. So it's okay to ask for help if that's what I need in order to learn. Y'all, I want to give you some encouragement. The kinds of cultures that the online and in-person guides have created at the forest schools is one where learners, generally speaking, feel very comfortable to just name what they don't know and ask a question and ask for help. Now, that's not always the case. Your learner might be somebody who's being quiet and they haven't quite learned how to step up. But are we modeling that, right? Are we we may be doing it, but we might be doing it in secret. Do our learners know that we in fact are asking for help from others, and are we telling them that story of how we were helped and how we asked? A third pro tip is share the wealth. One quote we saw, I just keep it to myself, someone said. It might not work for other people, even if it works for me. And I put this quote in red because that's not what we want to see, obviously. But this is the reality. And we find that in 2023, 2023, 24, a lot of learners do this out of respect. They don't want to, they think that it might be disrespectful to others, to maybe step out of their box and share a little bit because it might be presumptuous of them. And so they're a little reticent to do it. But this is one of the pro tips, is to share what you know and to do it proactively. So it's not just about receiving, it's also about giving. Another pro tip, make your goals known to the caring adults in your life. So as a professional, as a mom, as a dad, as a friend, as a neighbor, as a husband, as a wife, are you making your goals known to people who care about you? Do the people who love you, do they know what your short and long-term goals are right now? And do our children, do our heroes see us, doing that? Many of the learners that were interviewed said that they include their parents, and sometimes their educators in their weekly goal setting. And friendly reminder, if you're new to the school or if you've been here for the last 6 years, it is the school's expectation that at minimum, we as parents ask our learners on Monday, hey, what are your goals for the week? And on Friday, we ask them, how did it go? Some of you ask them every day before you drop them off and at the end of the day. But at minimum, we hope that you're having those conversations. But the pro tip for the learners there is to make their goals known. It's to share. those goals. And so we try and guide them to codify and capture those and eventually share them. And obviously this gets easier the older your learner gets. Caleb, Trey, anything that you guys would add about any of these first 4 pro tips?
No, I think that's a good summary. I think when Trey was early on in the interviews, one of the things he brought to me was, I keep asking them what their strategy is, and they tell me, and then I say, "Well, who else have you told about the strategy?" And they're like, "Nobody." And so I think that was the share the wealth one was kind of an aha for us, is that there is so much knowledge, there's so much wisdom in these classrooms, and it's easy to kind of hoard it a little bit instead of say like, "Hey, this works for me. Let me show you my system. Let me show you my process." And share that with your peers.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what I thought of as well. It was sort of well, you just something that I noticed is, I mean, they're really think, all the learners I think are really thinking about, oh, that doesn't really work, or this actually did work really well. Um, and the ones we interviewed definitely had clearly thought a lot about what strategies worked for them and what things really helped them learn, and they were just keeping it inside their head and never sharing it. And in the interviews, I actually asked them, well, why haven't you shared it? And many of them, you know, didn't want to be presumptuous about uh, other people's, other people's strategies. But others said, well, I actually have never really thought about sharing my strategy with other people. Never came to my mind that I could do that. Um, so, I mean, it may be funny, but a lot of them, they don't. I guess they don't. It doesn't come to mind that they can actually share that information. It can be good to share it and can help other people. Some of them actually just don't know.
Thank you both. And parents, just so y'all know, we interviewed not just high schoolers, but also middle and elementary schoolers. So the source of this data is from some of our youngest learners. Now, obviously, I see some Spark families on the call. We've not interviewed the Spark learners about this. Just from a developmental standpoint, we think waiting until um, uh, elementary is a good time to start capturing some of these behaviors. However, we are going to equip you with some questions that a 4 or 5-year-old could understand, at the end of this. The 5th pro tip is intentionally building, maintaining, and utilizing your social capital. Again, this is sort of adult speak. This is not learner-friendly language here. Social capital meaning the practical help that emerges from trusting, caring relationships. So all of us as parents, we know, an easy way to say it is it's all about who you know, right? Um, really a pro tip for a learner is using those relationships. Some people go through phases in their life where they feel nervous or bad or cheapened about like using a relationship that their parent has with somebody. But this is actually like a really important, crucial thing for learning and growth is for them to maximize and lean into the network that they have and that the school has, that the guides have, that I have, that you all have, that we share our social capital with one another. One of the strategies or one of the quotes connected to this from our learners was, my first thought is, who knows about this? Who's experienced at this? How can they help me? I mean, that is a great example of what we're trying to achieve. Pro tip number 6, learn from the authority figures in your life. So many respondents indicated discussing strategies and obstacles with parents. One said that their strategies and routines were influenced by a coach from a team in their life. Multiple learners mentioned utilizing their guides and maximizing the check-ins that we have at the school. But again, it's, how do we guide our learners to look to the authority figures in their life for guidance? And again, if I ask the question to us, who are our authority figures? And are we looking to them? And are we modeling that? Are our children seeing us um, get with mentors and get coached and get that advice? And are we telling those stories about things that we've learned from those authority figures in our lives? Pro tip number 7 is a little bit nuanced, but it's your learning is on you. You'll read in the report, Caleb does a good job of explaining how there's always a temptation to blame, to point the other finger, to say, I need somebody to do this for me. But a strategy for self-direction is to take responsibility, and to make it known to your peers and to caring adults that I know this is on me. I know that I literally had that conversation with a leader in my sphere this week. I was like, hey, I know this responsibility is mine. I'm taking full responsibility. And I give you my word. Are we modeling that for our learners? Are we pointing the finger and blaming others? Because if we do, they will. Or are we taking full responsibility for what's our responsibility to learn and know and do? Because that'll have a profoundly positive impact. And then the last relationship-based tip is cultivating a culture of deep learning by holding others accountable to high standards. Here's a quote we came across: "If my teammates aren't working in the group, then I don't really have tolerance for that. If they're not working in the group, if they're not doing their job during group work, I don't really have a tolerance for that. So I'll point it out to them." That's bold. I mean, do you at work, when there's a teammate who's not pulling their weight, do you point it out to them? Do you call them out in that setting? Another learner said, I thought that I worked better at home, but that's not true. I definitely need a space for collaboration. If other people are working towards their goals in the same room, whether that room is virtual or in person, that makes me feel like I need to work too. So there is this component of accountability from a relationship standpoint that can be powerful. Caleb, anything or Trey, anything to add to these tips?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, parents would love to just open it up real quick. After taking the survey, after hearing these tips and some of the quotes and context from the learners, what does this make you think? What does it make you wonder? Or what questions do you have? Clarifying or probing questions? We have time for just a few.
So here's mine. These are fantastic, and they don't change as you get older and more experienced, and so they're so relevant. One of the challenges that I see is that obviously there's some kids that are really feeling this and internalizing this and expressing this, and maybe in return getting it, and light bulbs are going on. But there are probably lots of other kids that don't grasp it, don't get it. Maybe they get one of them, they don't get all of them. How are these things, taught, for lack of a better term, shown? How are these brought to light? And then, how are they implemented in say, a self-directed setting with kids doing lots of different things all over the place at different levels of understanding?
Yeah. And if I had Amber on the call, I'd let her answer, but she is actually, Amber, are you here? Oh, she's going to be joining us soon. Oh, she is there. Amber, did you hear Jesse's question?
I'm sorry, I did not hear his question.
It's okay. Chrissy, what about at Forest Online? What is our approach at Forest Online to Jesse's question? And then I can answer for Forest in person.
Sure. So a lot of that I think happens just organically. Our guides are experts at, weaving these concepts into the way that they facilitate signature learning experiences. I'd say our launches with our Socratic discussions are a big area where we kind of input some of this kind of learning and discussion and thinking. And also during weekly check-ins, as the guides are working with learners one-on-one or two-on-one or three-on-one, whatever it might be. Just, having conversations about like accountability with the people that are in their studio or their running partners. Are they sharing their goals with their parents? Those are things our guides talk about on a regular basis.
And I would say, Jesse, at in person, we're just getting, as it relates to this particular study, we're just getting into it. So what I can commit to you and the rest of the group is we're going to thread these through the environment. We're going to make them clear. We're going to actually come up with some user-friendly, some like hero-friendly, young learner-friendly language, because a lot of the language here is, mainly adult-facing, because it's research-based. So we're going to come up with hero-facing friendly language. I have a big belief as a leader that like whatever a culture or an organization wants to cultivate, it will celebrate. And so we will actively look for how we're going to celebrate this on a daily and a session basis with learners. So just examples, like showing and calling out examples, that has a tremendous impact because learners begin to feel like, oh, that's cool, and I want to do that because it's getting recognized, and it's kind of the water in which we swim. But I think in the context of Socratic launches, and I said this at the beginning, like I know I personally am going to go into at least the middle and high school studios and maybe elementary. We'll figure this out. This will be more of a conversation with Amber and Chrissy, but I'm going to like explicitly name these and share them and talk about them, discuss them, because they're incredibly helpful. Like I said, they'll be lifelong, pro tips that we'll use for a very long time. I'm also interested in visuals and how can we take these pro tips and put them up on the wall in a place everybody can see them and we can reference them, we can talk about them, we can point to them. So it's just a part of the culture, but the expectation of the research that we do here at the Institute is to, once we learn stuff, is to thread it through. And so what I'm here to say is that process has kind of just begun now. I think for those learners who are feeling, and I'm hearing this a little bit in your question too, Jesse, who are feeling away about it, I think the check-in is probably one of the most special moments over the course of a week or every other week where some of these things can be discussed, with a learner, especially who may have some issues around self-esteem around it. And I think, just a matter of training our guides to thread these into their check-ins is going to be a part of what we're doing too.
Yeah, I think the dream team is a great example of what you're trying to do. But if these light bulbs aren't on, these opportunities fall through the cracks. And so I'm great. I love organic, and I love setting an environment and a context for these things to happen organically. But a lot of times they don't. And even if they happened 80% of the time, well, that's still a lot of heroes that won't get this opportunity. So codifying it, pictures are great. Yeah, cool.
Thanks. Don?
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, like when I took this, it was interesting where I came out on it. But as I thought back to like what I was as like who I was as an elementary or high school learner, and wow, I didn't get a lot of these things till like way later. so it was really sort of eye-opening thinking about these heroes and looking at where they're at, and then also looking at our kids and sort of how they progressed. And with Jesse's question, I was thinking a little bit about some of the aha moments our learners have had with some of these things, and that they've developed them, but a lot of them have been pretty hard won, and it's been, but looking at, like, for one example would be doing internships and having to call up and ask for, somebody to help you learn something, was something that, one of our learners really had a huge problem with. We identified somebody that could help them, and they just, they're like, well, I'm gonna bother them if I reach out to them. They're not gonna want to help. It's like, I don't want to be a nuisance. And we kept sort of telling them, like, people like to help. Like, people actually get excited about helping somebody who's passionate in something they're passionate about. And then he finally made that leap and sort of saw that was actually true. So it's like, I think there are a lot of pieces in the Forest Schools curriculum that really do hit on these things. It's just that, it's, one step at a time, each one builds. But it's pretty amazing to look back and see how many of these skills our kids have been able to develop and progress at just through the everyday course of, like, what the Forest School is doing, and then checking in with whether they're doing that, and saying, have you asked somebody to help you with that? Like, what is your plan for this? It's Forest School's given us those tools, which have been really helpful.
Thanks, Don. And you're making me think, and Amber, Chrissy, this, like, when we do launches on these, Don, you're making me think just of the idea of just giving learners practice at doing it, and so I can imagine a world where we give these launches about the pro tips, one by one, very slowly, intentionally over the course of the years. And at the end of it, there's a call to action. And the call to action is, hey, try it today. Do it today. And then at the end of the day, let's talk about it. See how it goes. Maybe one more comment or question.
I just want to add one thing, if it's okay. With that very, very relevant point that Don was making. What happens when learners experience rejection from someone they reach out help to? Do you build in strategies from that? Because there will be times where someone will say, I can't. And so how do we, I just want to just put that thought in. It's like part of the challenge though, is also asking for help, is also being open to hearing that sometimes people will say no to you. And so what do you do when that happens? Do you get discouraged, or, how do you then put yourself together to move on and then go on to the next person? So I just want to put that out there.
That's a great point. And I think one of the pro tips in the routine section addresses that, when we encounter the barriers, what's the self-directed learning pro tip or ninja move there? And so again, like what we've done here today with y'all is just relationships. We didn't go in depth. We went pretty fast. And I want to name that. And we didn't talk at all about experience, the environment, or routine. So at future parent coffees, we will, but I just want to give this to you, and I'll send this in a follow-up email as well. Some questions you can ask your learners at home. And these are questions that are friendly for 5-year-olds. Even do you tell someone about what you want to do, or did you what if you told somebody about what you want to be? When you need help, do you ask a grown-up or a friend? What would happen if you tell your friends the cool things that you know? What would happen? And then just letting them answer. Just honestly, the fact that you're asking them that and not judging their answers makes a big deal in their life developmentally. Number 4, what if you ask grown-ups for help? Number 5, how good are you at learning new things with your friends? Number 6, do you listen when grown-ups teach you interesting stuff? Number 7, can you try learning things by yourself? And number 8, what if you cheer for your friends when they do something great? So again, I'll send you those links. But I want to take a moment and just thank Caleb and Trey for their work on this. And please join me in thanking them. Caleb and Trey, this is a great project. I love that our heroes' voices are front and center. This is their 4School Online and 4School Voices, elementary, middle, high, being championed. And I can't wait for the rest of our community to learn from the rest of our community, which is cool. All right, so I went a little over time. We've only got 14 minutes. Chrissy holds me accountable. I'm sorry, Chrissy. I always do that. Chrissy, you've got breakout rooms for FSO, and then we're going to stay in the main room for TFS. So FSO folks, great to see y'all. Chrissy's going to open up breakout room for you guys.
Christy Joy, I'm not sure where you want to go, so just let Tyler know if you want to be moved to the room or not.
I'm so torn. I'll go, I'll stay on just because there's so many things happening right now in person. I'll stay in person for now.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. It is good to have you here. And we'll talk about building logistics at the end. I would love for Amber, you to share about the Hero Honor Code, how it's evolved. A few of you've seen it. It's evolved since then, how we're planning on using it. And parents, we'd love your feedback because this is going to be used next week.
Awesome. Are you going to share your screen, Tyler, or do I need to?
No, let me, I'll drop it in the chat for you guys.
Awesome. So guys, when we were thinking about moving into the new space, we were thinking about what does it mean to be a 4School learner? What does it mean to be here at the 4School? And I started thinking to myself, hey, I was a Girl Scout. I don't know how many of you all were Girl or Boy Scouts at a time, but we had the Girl Scout honor that we had to kind of stand up the pledge and say. And so we wanted to create something that was similar, where our heroes felt pride in being a 4School hero. And so we started coming up with different rules and things that we thought would be important to, one, help keep our new space beautiful, to help keep our learners safe, and really to grow them into just good human beings. What does it mean to be helpful? How can I make sure I pick up behind myself, making sure that those around me feel safe and comfortable? So the list that Tyler is dropping into our chat, we're calling this the Heroes Honor. So it is our honor code for our learners. And we started with a very big list where we went from thinking about what it looked like in the school, what it looked like when we traveled on field trips, different categories. But we decided we wanted this to be something that was really concise and to the point. So I want to give you guys a second to check out our final Forest 15 honor code items. Look at these. We can go through them. Let us know any feedback that you see, things that you think we have maybe missed that you'd like to see your learners uphold when they're at school. And then I can take any questions after that. So I'll just give you a second to kind of briefly read through those, and then we'll jump in and get some feedback from you guys. And you could just give me a thumbs up when you've gone through them, so we know everybody's kind of had a chance. Nice. Looks like we've pretty much got everybody back and they've read through them. So I want to start by saying we kind of started with these from things that were happening or that guides had noticed happening throughout the studio. So these are kind of the key points that we saw were most important to hit on. And the first question I see in the chat says, I think I know what it means, but what does it mean? Do not ask for a reward. So lots of times we want them to have an intrinsic motivation and that you do not need a reward to make the thing happen. And we often find our heroes asking, well, what do I get if I do this? Or will I get to be the hero spotlight? Or they are looking for some reward. And so we kind of want to get away from that. And what does it mean to just do it because you love to learn about it or you love helping your friends out? So that is the direction that we're kind of trying to guide them in. Are there any other questions or like glaring things that you see that you may not see that you want to include? Things that you do? How do you feel about it overall? Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, so the reward question was the one that I had to. I think it's fine. I agree with that. Maybe some more language around what that means would be helpful for the kids. And I personally think there are a lot of them on there, and so some of them maybe could be combined.
Okay.
So sort of like you did with the research, it was kind of thematic.
Now, Kelly, you're asking us to add language and subtract language at the same time. Is that what's happening right now?
Yes, I am. Yeah, just a couple of them I thought could be combined.
Which ones? Which ones?
Yeah, tell us which ones.
So one's about kind of respecting yourself and others. I thought there were a few that mentioned that. And so maybe coming up with some language that kind of addresses it in one or two.
Okay. Those are great. We also have been thinking about the way that we roll this out to the heroes. And so it's not feeling so top heavy down that this is what you have to do. Throughout this process, we've gone through the studios and talked to them about the ideas that we've had. They've given us ideas. And we are going to take each of these and kind of go through them and give that detail behind each one of them. And we are also going to have guides and heroes start thinking about what do consequences look like if you do not uphold some of these? So that will be after we're back in school, the kids have had a chance to kind of live with these for a while and then see what that looks like. Any others?
One of the things that I was looking for was something about that we kind of went over in the parent coffee was kind of giving back and helping others. And so I just love that expectation, right? Because if that's the expectation, then doing some of these things wouldn't even be close to that, right? If the expectation is that you're going to help others, help younger kids, and we're fostering mentorship, then then again, most of these would be so far away from that so it's about setting a very high expectation as an opportunity.
Awesome.
That's a great point.
Yep.
Maybe with the ones Kelly's, we put them together and then we add that one, which gets away from the Kelly's feedback about the long list, but.
And is being a good human following all of the numbers above, or is that a different directive altogether?
I think it's just following all of them above is the way that we were looking at it. Like after you've done all these things, then just be a good human. You're a good person. Be that person. Show us that person.
So maybe you can say bottom line, be a good human.
Bottom line, exactly.
When in doubt, what would a good human do?
Oh, love that question.
This conversation makes me think just how valuable it is because whenever you have words, there's lots of different interpretations and how we make sense of it. But just having this kind of conversation with the heroes slowly but surely over time, helping them make sense of it, creating that space for them, posing questions, making suggestions. In fact, I think Amber, you had talked about, because we were talking about how to get buy-in, right? And your latest idea was what?
So we were thinking about that we will go through as each studio individually, go through 2 or 3 of these and live it out for the week. Talk about what it looks like, what consequences could look like. And when we finally get to a place where these are our final ones, everybody's on board, understands what they mean, then having something that we sign. I'm signing and saying, hey, I'm committing to this honor code. And really years ago when we first started, Tyler talked about this a while ago, our rules of engagement, our heroes could repeat them because they were concise, like you said, Kelly, where it was only 4 or 5 of them. And it was something that anybody in the studio could immediately call out. So we want to get back to kind of that poignant moment where they're able to kind of live this, and it's instilled in them. Because as a girl, I felt like when I put that Girl Scout uniform on that I had to uphold myself that way. So we want them to get to the point when they walk through these forest school doors that they feel like this is who I am.
When you were talking, it makes me think of like seeing examples of not doing this, right? And I know some middle schoolers that would love to put that on film. They would write out that skit and they would put it on film. And sometimes it's funny, which allows people to capture it and go, oh yeah, that's something that we would not want to see again in real life.
I love that. And they would have a blast doing it for sure.
Allison messaged, is there something around honesty and accountability for their actions? So we have not gotten to the accountability portion of what it looks like. That is what we want to discuss with our learners as well. So guides have some ideas about what that could look like, but we want to get their input on each of them and not just if you've broken number 2, number 5, and number 3. Well, if you've broken number 2 twice or 3 times, what happens now? So we have not gotten to the point of accountability yet, but honesty, I thought that honesty was was an actual one, maybe not, it may have been removed, but I think that would be important to have back in for sure. And we'll keep you abreast of how this goes, I think I, as a leader, and then our guides as leaders and caring adults in the studios are going to take the position of, hey, learners, this is what it means to be a learner at the Forest School. These are expectations. These are standards. this is what it means to honor yourself, to honor others, to honor the space. We are so lucky to be here together. And this is what it means to be a part of this community.
Mhm.
And what do you need from us? Is there any support that you need in order to live up to this, you know? And any concerns, you know, that we have, we'll obviously reach out. But that's kind of the expectation.
Yep.
I think it's good timing for this with the new building and you know, I being at the Forest School for several years, just seeing, you know, the space that we were coming from and now we have this beautiful, gorgeous building that we're going into. And it's such a great moment in time where we can just like hit these new goals home to our learners and yeah, have pride, stand up for who you are, be that person that that you were meant to be. And so it's just a perfect timing in my mind for this to all roll out. And I love that you're involving the parents about it because we can also champion that at home as well. And, you know, I have teenage boys, and so there's a lot of grumbling going on. So it's great to wrap myself around something that's being done at school and then reiterate it once we're, you know, at the dinner table, or when I hear something, I can address it right away and this will come to mind. So thanks for doing this and thank you for sharing it with us. It's given me ideas of other things I can do at home.
Thanks for the encouragement. And just want to give some thanks to the people on our team who've been carrying this work forward. That includes Shelly, Brooke, Lana, Maria, Denise, Brittany, and Amber. Amber, am I missing anybody? Yeah, those were the folks who've really brought this to the forefront and have been talking about it for, you know, almost a month and a half now. You know, y'all got an email from me yesterday about the building date and my level of confidence about that. Nothing's changed since then, but would love to take any questions if you have them. First, I do want to say I'm so grateful for your flexibility and patience and understanding. I realize that it's hard being the parent of young children. I know it's hard. And what's been awesome to see, we've had about 9 families raise their hands and say, hey, this is very hard for us. We're dual working families. We did not have a plan. Amber's done a great job of getting with those families and helping them find ways to get their needs met in a way that is good for them. There's still a few families we're still working with where we've been able to identify that there is a need, but we have not been able to way to solve for it yet. And so that's actually one of the conversations Amber's having today with a couple families. And so we're hopeful to reach a solution with that. But we've also had a number of families raise their hand and say, we want to help. We will host kids at our house. We'll watch kids. It's just like such a great, awesome community love that's going around in this season that we're so grateful for, so that we can, you know, get the CO. We've got a final inspection on Friday and of this week, and we're hopeful to get the CO. Hopeful to get the CO then, but we'll see. That having been said, what questions do you have? We did a 3-hour walkthrough this morning with all the guides and all the studios except for high school, and it was so fun. And it looks beautiful, and the furniture is incredible and sturdy. Any questions? Yep. Rosie?
I have a quick question. I guess as a parent, if a child, let's say my child, if my child were to break something, is there somewhere it says that like we're liable for it? Because I mean, I think that's a lot for the school to continue to, I don't know. I mean, besides insurance and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like intentionally, let's say intentionally, you know, they broke it.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yes is the answer. And actually y'all as parents, me too, because I've paid for some stuff. We signed that contract as a part of our contract to the organization, to the school in the year. That's included in the contract, the handbook. So when we signed off on that handbook, that's in there. And that's just kind of the same, you know, and just so you know, it's not something we publicize, right? Like when a learner breaks something, we'd let everyone know that they are paying for that, but that's happened. Within the last year, we've had a learner throw a ball into a TV and it break, and that family, paid for it. And the learner actually worked for, I think, a few months to pay it off. And it was a great learning experience for them, So, and we'll work with families, but we just want to hold that. And we're not going to publicize it, broadly speaking, but sometimes it is public because everybody sees it and everybody knows. But the answer is yes. Thank you, Rosie. Other questions?
Are there any other opportunities to help with the unboxing, or are there particular classrooms or studios that's just so much that they could use hands?
Amber?
Yeah, so right now, Spark has had some help coming in on yesterday. I think they are getting to a point where they're kind of organized. They're now starting to put things on shelves. So the biggest need has been books and organizing those. So as we run into that need, I will shoot emails out. So if any of you guys are like, hey, I'm good at that, let us know. And I will send you an email, text, or something to get in touch with you. We'd appreciate it. Christy, also, did you leave a jacket here when you helped, a red and black jacket?
We
No?
sold it.
It's very possible. I don't know. Did I leave a child also? I don't. I'm not sure if I left a jacket.
I'll hold it up. We're
But-
starting Lost and Found early. Come on now.
Okay.
That's
Well,
hilarious.
and the kids are chomping at the bit to help in some way. So, oh no, that's not mine. I don't know whose that is.
Oh.
No.
All right. We also, I just put this in the parents' private Facebook, but we do need some help. If somebody has time and ability this week to help us move some cell phone lockers, it's basically a basic drilling to hang some very large pictures in Spark, and to set up a closet organizer. That would be incredibly helpful if you or anyone you know has bandwidth this week. Let me know. Other questions?
What's the time frame for that?
This week, we would really like to get all that done by, I would say, really Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon would be great, would be ideal. Well, I take it back. If it's Friday afternoon, ideally end of day Thursday. I mean, that's super short turnaround, but honest, beggars can't be choosers. Like, we will take over the weekend.
So y'all are there all day Thursday?
Oh yeah.
What's the hour? Yeah, the hours on Thursday.
Well, I mean, I'll be nearby, but
Okay.
if it's after hours, but staff will be there 7:30 to 3:45.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, thanks. Other questions about the building or move-in process? I want to let y'all know some good news. A very generous anonymous donor has given even more to make the hardscape and the landscape even more incredible than it already is. What's exciting about it now is it's got this great, sturdy concrete designed in a way that's very whimsical and fun. It's got this AstroTurf that's very expensive and beautiful. It's going to last us a very long time. Great basketball court, gaga ball court, Spark Playground is awesome. And it's got a few trees, but this donor really wants to see more trees, more bushes, more places to sit for the learners. And so we're going to phase that out. And so over the next few months, that's going to be coming and going to make the place even greater outside, to kind of, and the words of the donor was to match the world-class level of education and learning that's happening inside. The outside needs to look like that too. And we're like, hey, we received that. Thank you. So that's great news. Well, y'all, with that having been said, thank you for going a little bit over time with us. And we really look forward to seeing you in person. I'll send another email out just as soon as I know anything. So if you have any questions in the interim or any needs, let Amber or me know, and enjoy the rest of your day.